Hello, everyone. We're going to start in just 1 minute. We'll give a few minutes to join. Thank you. All right, it is top of the hour. So hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar from Compare to Complete, enabling small legal teams to draft with ease. I'm Glenda. I'll be your host today. We're excited to have you with us as we explore how small firms can streamline their document workflow and compete more effectively using Litera One. Before we begin, a quick note, this presentation is confidential and should not be redistributed. It may contain forward-looking statements and roadmap items which are subject to change, so we appreciate your understanding. A few housekeeping items. This session will last about 30 minutes, followed by a Q&A. Please submit your questions in the GoToWebinar panel. We'll answer as many as we can live and follow up by email if needed. The webinar is being recorded and a copy will be sent to you afterwards. All participants are muted to ensure a smooth experience. My name is Glenda Garrett and I'm an account executive at Litera.
And I'm Jeannie Haskey. I'm a sales engineer also at Litera. My background a little bit here, I was a paralegal for a long time, so I have end user experience with the products, and I'll be showing the demo later.
All right, next slide. Here's a quick look at what we'll be covering today. We'll start by talking about some of the challenges that affect small law firms. Then I'll introduce you to Litera One, our platform designed to help small legal teams work smarter, not harder. After that, Jeannie will walk us through a live demo so you can see the tools in action, and then we'll show you how to access them through our Draft Base and Draft Pro packages. Finally, we'll wrap up with a Q&A. So let's kick things off by talking about the reality for small law firms today. So here's what we're seeing across the board. Small firms are often working with limited IT resources and tight budgets. There's pressure to compete with larger firms that have more tech and more people. AI is everywhere, but small firms aren't sure how to start using it or how to make it work for them. And over time, firms end up with a patchwork of tools that don't always play well together. And of course, there's a constant need to stay secure and compliant while delivering fast, high quality service. These are real challenges, but they're also opportunities and that's where Litera One comes in. So you'll need something that's simple, powerful, and actually helps you get work done faster. That's why we built Litera One. So Litera One is a unified platform designed specifically for small legal teams. Jeannie, next slide, please. It brings together all the tools you need to draft, review, compare, and finalize documents without the complexity of managing multiple systems. With this tool, you can ask questions about your documents and get instant insights, review for inconsistencies or missing elements. You can proof formatting and defined terms and compare versions with precision, whether it's one-to-one or bulk comparisons.
And I'll chime in here too. Another feature that I'll show is compare summarizations. It allows a user to get quick, clear summary of what's changed between versions so that they don't have to dig through page by page. It gives a content of what actually changed there.
And so one of the best parts about Litera One is it works wherever you do. That's Word, Outlook, browsers. So your team doesn't have to change how they work. It's intuitive, easy to adopt, and delivers real value quickly. So for small firms, that means less time spent on manual tasks, fewer errors, and more time to focus on what matters the most, your clients. So now let's Now that you've got a sense of what Litera One is and how it's designed to support small legal teams, the next question is, what does it actually look like in practice? So to help answer that, I'm going to hand things over to Jeannie, who's going to walk us through a live demo. She'll show you how these tools work together to simplify your drafting process and help your team move faster with fewer errors.
Great, thanks. So while you were talking there, I brought up Litera One for Word. I just have a draft agreement and we'll walk through that. So like we mentioned, Litera One is within Word, browser, and Outlook. We're going to spend most of the time today in our window of time in Litera One for Word. And we'll walk through some of the features that Glenda mentioned, the ask, review, proof, and repair, as well as that compare functionality there. So to start, we're going to start with the ask. So this enables users to be able to find information in documents faster. So using natural language, I can ask questions. I'll bring one in here. Where is the closing? This is going to generate the response and then also provide a source for that information. So I can go in, verify, read that information for the question that I just asked. I just asked where the closing is, it returned that. It also provided other suggested questions based on that original question. Ask what the role is of the specific party, returns that answer, and then also source. If this is pulling from multiple sources, it'll provide links to all of the sources in your document for where that information came from. So that's the ask feature that leverages AI within Litera One. Next, I'm going to go into review. So this enables a user to find their defined terms and understand the definitions faster. So with the review, I can select and highlight a term, review the term. It's going to return what that defined term is, and then also where it's been used. The use case here is that being able to understand what the definition is without losing your place in a document. So not having to page back up to the definition section to get the definition of automatic drafting agreement, I can highlight, it brings back that definition, and then also where it's been used, arrows if it's been used in multiple places. These are also sticky, so if you're working on a specific section and want to understand a set of terms, you can keep these off to the side as you're working. So that's that review section, being able to understand that information faster and get that defined terms and understand that faster, more efficiently. Next, I'm going to go to proof. Proof is proofreading the document. It's going to surface inconsistencies. You can broadly see that it surfaces both critical issues as well as informational issues. So it can go into one of these and it'll surface all of the critical issues throughout the document. However, there are subsections below that categorizes these sections or the types of errors within this document. So I'll walk through a few of these so that you can get an idea of how I work with the tool and also the types of errors that this surfaces. So defined term issues, this surfaces those inconsistencies. This is the use case that we know that language gets repurposed and it's hard to keep track of what terms have been defined, what haven't. There's a category that indicates the type of error here, so used, not defined, as well as those defined, not used, and also quantity. So closing date, selecting this surfaces that this term has been used 7 times. I can, if I decide I want to define it and insert a definition, I can have a panel off to the right that I can put in what that date is. And when I select define and insert, what this is going to do is recognize if there's a definitions list and input that definition in that list for me. So that was an example of one of the used, not defined. I'm also going to select parties here. This is going to surface something that's been defined, not used. And the option is to remove the definition if I wish to, and that'll remove that definition. So that was defined term issues. I'll go into names, dates, etc., and more. So as a whole, I'll get to the red exclamation points, these attention items, in a second. But as I sort through this and filter down, you can see that this is surfacing company names, addresses, dates, locations, dollar amounts are within here too. The use case, again, going back to that example of repurposing language, when language is copied from one document to the other, it introduces the risk that something is in the document that shouldn't be. This allows a user to identify those personal identifiers so that they can more easily confirm that these are accurate and up to date. I talked to someone recently who told me that this would have been helpful because they had someone in their document that didn't work at the company anymore. So being able to confirm these in an easy way. And then I'll go into some of the attention items here. So Matter, Cook, and Jackson, this is surfaced, asks if I mean Mater, Cook, and Jackson and change the D to an E. Reason being is that I've used with an E more often in the document, so it surfaced the outlier. So thinking of this as almost legal spell check, it's going to surface inconsistencies within the document. The next one below that, this Tuesday, April 16th, Tuesday 2018, the correct day of the week is a Monday, not a Tuesday. So I either need to change this date to April 17th, or that day of the week needs to become a Monday. So it surfaced that as well. Those are a couple examples of attention items, those critical issues. And then I also quickly mentioned that there's informational items in the panel. So informational items, just to show you an example here, this date, the April 12th, is a Saturday, which is not a weekday. So that might be intentional, but raising that in case that needs to be corrected. That's a little bit on those names, dates, and more. The next section I'll talk about is editing mistakes. This is another big popular one. So this is surfacing some of those things that take a long time to find and can introduce, there's risk within here as well as making sure the document is correct. So I'll start broadly and talk about some of the things within here. So this surfaces inconsistency as far as spacing, both between words. So if there's too many spaces between words, that'll get surfaced. And the other one that people love to hear about is spacing between sentences. So if there has been one space between sentences used inconsistently with two spaces, that'll be populated and surfaced here. And the other are if a bracket is missing its partner, parenthesis mark, quotation mark, etc., missing its partner, that'll get surfaced. Curly quotes versus straight quotes, if those have been used inconsistently in the document, that'll get raised here as well. And the one that I'm leaving for last is number discrepancy. So the text of a number and then the actual number that follow each other, making sure those correspond correctly. Here in the document that I'm showing in this example, 1 million, but the actual number shows 100,000. So a difference of a 0, but a big difference in the value of preferred stock in the specific document. So that'll get flagged if the number is inconsistent as well. That gives you a flavor as far as how this identifies errors, makes it easier to resolve those. I talked about a few different sections: defined term issues, names, dates, more, editing mistakes. This will also surface as there's placeholders in a document if someone's highlighted text and hasn't gone back to fill it in, colored text, placeholders, making sure those are finalized. Also has a good section as far as definitions to make that ease of reviewing definitions easier within here too. I'm gonna leave time for the other sections. So now I'm gonna go to, that was the proof section. Now we're gonna go to repair. These are one-click fixes for when there's multiple people in a document or when text is copied over from a PDF. So for instance, this cleanup formatting will clean up with a one-click button some of the formatting issues that happens when text is copied over from a PDF or a document is converted. So some of the parentheses or the hard returns where they shouldn't be and so on, they're just one-click fixes to make that cleanup faster. That is what we want to show as far as the draft section. And so now this leads to compare. So compare within Litera 1 for Word. Currently, this is the ability to run comparisons on Word and PDF documents. I can select the current document from here. I can also browse locally, which is what I'll do, and select 2 Word documents. This can be done for Word to Word, Word to PDF, and vice versa, PDF to Word, and PDF to PDF comparisons. I'll select two Word documents, run this comparison. You can see that the comparison is happening here in the cloud. I'm not going out to another application, I'm staying within here. So if I'm drafting a document and want to run this comparison, I can do so. I can view the comparison or download. I'm going to view the comparison so that you can see what this returns, but I can download, continue the work. This is going to render the red line. For those of you that are familiar with Litera Compare desktop application, this is just like that Litera Compare for desktop for what that looks like for returning what's added in blue, deleted in red, and so on. On the left, this is the change list. This allows a user to easily navigate and also just get a bird's eye view of what changed between the two versions. So if someone sends you a version and says I only made a couple minor changes, and you're able to surface down and see that there's a lot of changes, you can get an easy picture without going page by page on the red line. And then the options as far as saving, these are streamlined, saving as a PDF, saving as a Word document, also a version with track changes. Change pages is just the pages that have changes. And then summarize changes, this is the feature that I talked about earlier. This leverages AI to provide a bulleted list of the content that changed between the two versions. So this will generate a summary and allow the user to either copy or download this list. So once this returns, you can see what I was just mentioning, the copy or download. So this enables a user to collaborate more effectively. So providing a client this bulleted list in addition to the red line so that they can understand what is updated in the new version faster. That's what we wanted to talk about as far as Litera One for Word. So talked about the drafting functionality as well as running a comparison. I think it's helpful to see Litera Compare within the browser, Litera One in browser. This is, I just navigated to this browser page. This can be bookmarked, so you can save it as an icon on your desktop. So great thing about Litera One is it's device agnostic. So thinking of Mac users or really PC user, any user being able to save this as a bookmark and access this to be able to quickly run comparisons. This is so streamlined, doesn't even really require any training, and can select files. I'll select a couple Word documents and run a comparison. I'll drag this over. Again, Word to Word, Word to PDF, PDF to PDF. You can see this comparison is in progress. Once this returns, I can download from here. I can also open in browser, and browser is what we just saw in a screen ago. So that's the saving as a Word document, saving as a PDF, and then opening browser. That's one-to-one, but also available is the ability to run many comparisons at one time. So I'll bring over a few, but can run many comparisons at one time. So if a new set of drafts comes in, can just drag over the new recent version. So recognizing that there's a whole host of documents that are drafted oftentimes at one time, can run a comparison, and the comparisons are all running at once. Once these are returned, will see the options just like what we saw before, being able to download each as a Word document or a PDF, or open in browser, which is what we looked at. But what's really helpful is being able to save these all at one time. Can save these all as Word documents, the red lines, or save these all as PDF files. So being able to generate red lines faster with dragging and dropping many versions at one time. That's what we want to show as far as Litera One. So that was Litera One within Word and browser. There's also Litera One for Outlook, so enabling users to run red lines on documents that are attached to emails in your inbox or in drafted emails. So if someone is drafting an email and has attachments attached, they can run that red line from that email. and then attach the red line to that email. So that is what we want to show today to get you quick high level, give you a flavor of what is in Litera 1. I will turn it back and go back to the presentation. Again, please pop up any questions that you have in the chat, and we'll answer those later on in the call.
Thanks, Jeannie. We will have a Q&A here in a minute. Let's talk about how you can access these tools. We offer 2 packages, Draft Pro and Draft Base. So showing Draft Pro first, if you're a small firm juggling multiple matters with limited time and resources, this package is designed with you in mind. It'll bring together everything you need to manage your documents from start to finish, everything that Jeannie showed in that demo without a hassle of switching between disconnected tools. This includes proofing to catch formatting errors, review tools to spot inconsistencies, the Ask Digital Assistance for your documents, as well as that repair and cleanup with bulk comparison feature as well. It's worth noting that Draft Pro also includes the core comparison capabilities that make up our next package, Draft Base. Next slide, please. As I mentioned earlier, all the comparison capabilities in Draft Base are included in Draft Pro, but if your firm's primary need is to compare documents quickly and accurately without the extra tools, Draft Base is a great fit. This is especially helpful if your team is constantly reviewing contracts or redlining documents and just needs a reliable, flexible way to do that. So as we wrap up, I want to leave you with a quick thought. Next slide, please. Litera 1 is already helping over 1,400 firms simplify their workflow, cut down repetitive tasks, and deliver great work more efficiently. So whether you're looking to clean up documents faster, compare versions more easily, or just take some manual work off your team's plate, there's something here that can make your day-to-day a little easier. If anything we talked about today sparks your interest or just made you think that it could be useful, we'd love to chat more. So feel free to reach out to your Litera rep, let us know, and we'll connect you with the right person. So moving on to the Q&A section, and we did get a question in the chat. Will the product replace Contract Companion?
So the desktop, I'm going to take that one, Glenda, is that okay?
Yes, yes, of course.
Desktop applications are not going away. So if you're utilizing Contract Companion, you can still utilize that. And you can run these parallel, and what you decide to push to your users is up to you. But this question might have gotten answered too when you saw the Pro package. That Pro package includes both the desktop applications as well as that proof section in Litera 1. So you'll have both.
Awesome. And we have another question. Can you ask general legal questions with the Ask feature?
So good question. So that Ask feature is just looking at that specific document. I did show, but it has been trained for legal, and I asked some pretty basic questions, but you can ask more high level substantive questions, but it is just going to look at the content in the document itself. It's not going to pull legal research from outside of the document. Good question.
Does Litera 1 integrate with NetDocs?
So that is to come. That is actively being worked on, but that is to come.
Okay, and then I think we've got a final question unless there's more coming in. Is Litera 1 suitable for small firms with limited IT resources?
Great question.
Maybe,
so,
yeah.
Glenda, you might want to contribute to this too, but Litera 1, because it's a modern Microsoft add-in, the updates will happen automatically. And so something that we hear often with Visto add-ins or those desktop applications is that when there's an update or that new version needs to be pushed out from an IT team, with Latera One, because of it being a modern Microsoft add-in, that updates are done on Latera's side. So it's an easier lift for IT teams, especially for a smaller firm.
Awesome. So
Yeah.
another question, what training and instruction support is offered if software is purchased? So I can speak to that. We have teams that will are available to support you with the installation. It's support@latera.com. However, the reps are more than happy to help guide any conversations around instructions and support to get going. After the initial purchase, you do receive an email that gives you the login information, and from there it's very self-explanatory for getting access to the tools. But the reps as well as our support team are more than happy to help ensure a smooth transition. Let's see. Latera One appears to be more of a redline comparison program. How does the software help with briefs?
Oh, good. So it sounds like we have a litigation person asking that question. So I too was litigation. So as far as the proofreading functionality, I did show this on an agreement. You're right. But thinking of those editing mistakes, names, dates, etc., that also will identify things within litigation documents. And really, the proof section doesn't matter what type of document, it just needs to be within Word to surface inconsistencies within a document. That ask feature as well works on a litigation document, being able to understand the case law in your document and being able to understand language within your brief as well. So that ask feature does also work on any type of document. It just needs to be within Word. But another thing to mention, which is a tool that we have for litigation that is very well utilized and popular, is Litigation Companion, which includes that TOA functionality. That TOA functionality still exists in the desktop application. And so with that Latera One Pro package, you get access to that desktop application as well to generate those TOAs faster and more efficiently for your teams.
Here's a question that I haven't heard before. Does the summary function work for a French doc? Can servers used in country specific such as Canada?
Great question. So currently Latera One is only for English documents, but this is continuing to be worked on to handle other languages, but currently it's just English.
And how long would it take to compare a 50-page document?
So it is quite fast. I mean, I compared, you saw a number of documents all at one time and the speed of that. So 50-page document is quite quick. We recognize that there are agreements that documents that are much longer than that. And so I don't have a time, but quite quickly for a 50-page document for sure.
I believe that is all the questions. Again, if you do have any other questions, we will be following up with everyone following this webinar and get you connected with the sales rep. So we'll more than happy to continue to answer those questions once we connect. Thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Bye.